In this housing market, people are willing to overlook a lot: a leaky roof, outdated carpet, or a resident spirit. Today, we're checking out Zillow listings that come with a little something extra in the fine print. We're showcasing houses with notorious haunted histories that are either live on the market right now or were recently sold to some very brave buyers. Grab your sage and your checkbook, because these are the spookiest homes currently moving on the market. First up is the LaLaurie Mansion. We begin at one of the most infamous addresses in the world, 1140 Royal Street. Known as the LaLaurie Mansion, this three-story landmark in the New Orleans French Quarter is widely considered the site of the most horrific crimes in the city's history. While its exterior is a masterpiece of Empire-style architecture, the history behind these walls is so dark, it inspired an entire season of American Horror Story. The house gained its terrifying reputation in the 1830s under its owner, Madame Delphine LaLaurie. A wealthy socialite by day, she secretly kept a torture chamber in the attic. The horror was only revealed in April of 1834 when an enslaved cook started a fire in the kitchen as a desperate cry for help. When neighbors forced their way into the locked attic, they discovered a scene of human suffering so gruesome it sparked a citywide riot. The mob eventually gutted the interior, and the original house was largely destroyed, but the energy of that attic seems to have survived the rebuild. For nearly 200 years, the testimony from inside the house has been remarkably consistent. In the late 19th century, when the building served as an all-girls school, students frequently reported being physically assaulted by an invisible entity. The girls would show teachers fresh bruises and scratches on their arms, claiming a mean lady had pinched or struck them. Later, when the building was converted into apartments, a tenant in the 1890s claimed he was being terrorized by a sprite that would not rest until he was dead. He was found murdered in his room shortly after, with his belongings ransacked but nothing stolen. More modern accounts describe the sound of heavy chains dragging across the third-floor floorboards and the phantom screams of a young girl echoing through the courtyard. One of the most common sightings is that of Leah, the young enslaved girl who reportedly fell to her death from the roof while trying to escape Madame LaLaurie's whip. Passers-by still claim to see a small, terrified figure leaning over the upper balcony, only for her to vanish the moment they call out for help. Because of its history, the mansion has become a trophy property for those fascinated by the macabre. Actor Nicolas Cage purchased it in 2007 for $3.4 million, famously calling it a ghost front property, only to lose it to foreclosure 3 years later. Most recently, the mansion hit the market for over $10 million, eventually selling in October of 2024 for $6 million. The buyer was Lance Zal, the owner of U.S. Ghost Adventures. While the house has been fully renovated with modern luxuries like a hidden speakeasy, the new owners have acknowledged that they are merely the latest custodians of a legacy that refuses to be quiet. Next up is the Enslin Mansion. Our next stop takes us to the historic village of Lansingburg in Troy, New York, to a landmark that has remained in the same family since 1919. This is the Enslin Mansion. Unlike many haunted properties that change hands every few years, this house has been a constant for 6 generations of the Fail family. But as current owner Michelle Bell will tell you, the living family members aren't the only ones who refuse to leave. The mansion was built in 1890 and purchased by Frederick Anthony Fehl shortly after he arrived from Bavaria. Over the decades, the house has served many purposes, from a family home to a 1920s supper club that reportedly hosted legendary gangsters like Jack Legs Diamond. This colorful history of bootlegging and high society gatherings seemingly left a permanent imprint on the building, creating what many paranormal teams call a hotbed of spiritual activity. The house is said to be home to at least 9 distinct spirits. 5 of these are believed to be deceased family members who continue to watch over the property, including a protective young man and a grandfather who still paces the halls. However, not all the residents are family. Testimony from the house includes a former tenant who was found dead in the basement, a room that the owner now keeps permanently locked due to the intense negative energy found there. Former guests and residents have described a range of physical activity, from invisible hands grabbing at their clothes to kitchen knives being found lined up on the floor in the middle of the night. The most chilling accounts come from the second-floor haunted bedroom, where visitors claim to see shadowy figures standing at the foot of the bed and hear the sound of a woman being pushed down the stairs. For the first time in over 100 years, the Ensslin Mansion hit the market in late 2021. In a move that caught the attention of spiritualists nationwide, the house was listed for exactly $444,444. According to the owner, this specific number has a deep spiritual significance and was non-negotiable. While the listing was later pulled and the house remains off-market, it has transitioned into a thriving commercial destination. Today, you can book the haunted bedroom on Airbnb or attend one of their spookeasy dinner shows and mentalism performances. It stands as a unique piece of real estate where the value isn't just in the bricks and mortar, but in the 9 permanent residents that come included with the deed. Next up is the Poltergeist home. We move now to the quiet suburbs of Simi Valley, California, to a house that every child of the 80s knows by heart. This is 4267 Roxbury Street, the actual family home used as the primary filming location for Steven Spielberg's 1982 classic Poltergeist. While the movie tells the story of a home built on a relocated cemetery, the real-world history of this property is a fascinating study in how cinema can create a permanent, spectral value for a piece of suburban real estate. For over 4 decades, this house was a local secret, owned by the same family that lived there during the original 1981 production. Because the owners never fully remodeled the interior, the home served as a living time capsule. Walking through the kitchen or standing in the living room felt like stepping directly onto the MGM film set. This lack of renovation, which would normally hurt a home's value, became its greatest selling point when it finally hit the market for the first time in 45 years. In August of 2024, the house hit the market for $1.17 million. The response was immediate. It received a massive cash offer within days, finally selling in October of 2024 for $1.28 million, nearly 10% over the asking price. The buyer, an entrepreneur from Northern California, didn't buy it to live in. She purchased it specifically to turn the house into a fully immersive, poltergeist-themed Airbnb. After an intensive renovation that reportedly cost over $160,000, the home has been restored to look exactly like the Freeling residence from the movie, complete with period-accurate furniture and set pieces. Today, you can actually book a stay in the portal room. Next up is the Lumber Baron Inn. Crossing the country to the Potter Highlands neighborhood of Denver, we find a Queen Anne landmark that has transitioned from a Gilded Age showpiece to the site of one of the city's most enduring mysteries. This is the Lumber Baron Inn, built in 1890 by Scottish immigrant John Malwatt. The 9,700 square foot mansion was designed to showcase his timber empire, with each room featuring a different species of rare wood. However, the estate's grand reputation took a dark turn in the mid-20th century when it was carved into 23 rundown apartments. In October of 1970, the property became the center of a brutal cold case when 17-year-old Cara Lee Noach was discovered murdered in her rented room, her body hidden under the bed. Her friend, 18-year-old Marianne Weaver, was shot in the head after accidentally walking in during the attack. Despite a massive investigation, the killer was never identified. The room where the tragedy occurred, now known as the Valentine Suite, remains the primary focus of the house's paranormal reputation. For over 50 years, the testimony from those who stay here has remained remarkably consistent. Guests frequently report the sound of female whispers in the hallways and the persistent feeling of being watched within the Valentine Suite. Paranormal investigators have captured electronic voice phenomena of 2 young women, while others report a much more authoritative male presence on the 3rd floor, often signaled by the distinct scent of antique pipe tobacco. Today, the mansion operates as a boutique bed and breakfast and wedding venue, but its future is currently up for sale. As of January 2026, the property is active on the market for $2.995 million. This current price follows a $205,000 reduction from its 2025 listing. The property is being marketed as a significant income-producing asset, proving that in a competitive market like Denver, a notorious history can be leveraged as a unique and profitable business model. Next, we have the Parsons Smith Homestead. In the quiet wooded landscape of South Windham, Maine, sits a property that has remained virtually frozen in time for over 260 years. This is the Parsons Smith Homestead. Built in 1764 by Parson Peter Thatcher Smith, the house overlooks the Presumpscot River on a site originally designated as the town's ministerial lot. While most colonial homes have been gutted or modernized, the homestead is a rare architectural survivor, retaining its original 18th century wallpaper, unpainted woodwork, and heavy Georgian framing. For decades, during its time as a public museum, the testimony from staff and visitors remained remarkably consistent. The most frequent reports involved the sound of heavy, rhythmic footsteps pacing the second-floor hallway directly above the parlor, often accompanied by the distinct creak of the grand staircase as if someone is ascending. Witnesses in the attic have described a weighted atmosphere and intense cold spots that persist even during the height of Maine's summer. The energy is even more active at the family cemetery located on the estate grounds. Visitors have documented strange physical interference with their vehicles, including car doors that are left closed but found standing wide open upon their return. Most famously, those who knock on the heavy doors of the Anderson family crypt have reported receiving a direct, muffled knock in response from within the stone walls. After serving as a museum for 40 years, the homestead returned to private ownership under strict preservation covenants that prevent the house or its 124 acres from being altered or developed. While the property briefly moved into contingent status in early January, that deal has since collapsed. As of January 20th, 2026, the homestead is back on the market for $950,000. The sale includes the original 1764 structure and the vast surrounding forest, offering a rare second chance for a buyer willing to coexist with a piece of undisturbed American history. Next, we have the Ann Sterrett Mansion. In the historic seaport of Port Townsend, Washington, one Victorian mansion stands as the grand dame of the Bluffs. This is the Ann Sterrett Mansion, built in 1889 by wealthy contractor George Sterrett as a wedding gift for his wife, Anne. The house is a masterclass in Queen Anne architecture. Its most famous feature is a 70-foot free-hung spiral staircase that rises into a solar calendar dome, decorated with frescoes of angelic maidens painted in Anne's likeness. Unlike the tragic backstories of many haunted estates, the spirits here are believed to be the Sterretts themselves, who simply refuse to leave the home they built. For decades, guests and staff have reported sightings of a red-haired woman, believed to be Anne, wandering the upper floors and the staircase tower. She is often seen by passers-by, looking out from the tower windows, even when the room is known to be vacant and locked. The house is also said to be occupied by a third entity, a stern, nanny figure in a black dress. Testimony from former innkeepers describes her as a protective presence who is known to tinkle the crystals on the chandeliers and, according to local legend, has been known to physically bop guests on the head if they exhibit poor behavior or disrespect the home. The Sterrett Mansion has a long history of being on and off the market, reflecting the difficulty of finding the right custodian for such a specialized property. After operating as a boutique bed and breakfast for years, the Grand Dame was sold in July of 2023 for $1.375 million. As of January 2026, the property remains in private hands, though its estimated value has climbed toward the $2 million mark. While it is not currently listed for public sale, it remains a turnkey landmark, with the 2023 buyers inheriting not only the ornate period furnishings and the frescoes, but also the 3 resident spirits that have become synonymous with the mansion's legacy. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and look forward to the next one.